Welcome back, everybody, to Fiegel Files. This is episode 18. I'm Beau Fiegel, strongest lawyer in Texas. It's now official from Saturday, in case you missed the last podcast. Today, we're joined by Shannon Roberta Salmón, an attorney and mediator with nearly 2 decades of legal experience serving the people of Beau County. She began her career in public service long before becoming a lawyer, working as a caseworker and even as a 911 emergency operator before earning her law degree from St. Mary's University School of Law. Since then, she's practiced family, criminal, civil, and immigration law, often representing people navigating some of the most difficult moments of their lives. Her work is focused heavily on helping people with vulnerable populations, including survivors of domestic violence, foster youth, immigrants, and families facing poverty. In addition to her legal practice, she serves the board of Blue House, advocating foster youth through the THRU project, and continues to stay involved in community service through the Junior League. Today we're going to talk about her path in the law, her work in the community, why she believes the court should be accessible, fair, grounded in dignity and respect for everyone who walks through the courtroom doors, and her candidacy for the Beau County Court number 10. Shannon, welcome to Fiegel Files.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Beau.
Thank you.
What a beautiful setup you have.
Thank you. It's fun.
And congratulations on your award.
Thank you. Yeah, that was Saturday.
Yeah.
It was fun. So, moving on up. We'll do the next one in August, so we'll find out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Thank you. Where are you from?
Yeah, that's a roundabout, interesting question. I was born in San Diego. I guess if I had to pick one, I'd say the Valley. I'm from the Valley. And then I got up here around age 17, 18, so I've been here a very long time.
When people say the Valley, it encompasses a space that's bigger than like Germany. So where do you mean? Where are you actually from?
Well, technically McAllen and Edinburgh, but to us at the time, and you have to keep in mind this was before #RGV was a thing. I mean, there was nothing like cool about the Valley, you know, and back then there was one spot and it was the Sonic. And that was the only thing open past 9 p.m. And so, you probably can't even imagine a place this small and rural. Where are you from?
My dad's military. I was a brat. The smallest place I had was a place called White House, Texas, which was about 35, 40 miles south of Tyler. And it seems like what you described, except with, the border right there. So we had that.
Yeah. Boy, you would have liked growing up next to the border.
You think I would have?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Enlighten me. Why would I have enjoyed that?
Well, first of all, the legal drinking age is like 12.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I probably wouldn't have made it. Let's say that.
I have friends that didn't make it.
Yeah.
But you would have made good choices. You're
a
smart guy.
I don't know that all my history suggests I make a lot of good choices. Maybe of late, but not there. Yeah. Okay, so you're in you said in this area at 17, 18?
Yeah, I got up here, so I guess I should say from here, right? Because I'm very San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Very much grounded here.
Did you graduate high school here?
No, I graduated in the Rio Grande Valley, but they have a high school called Memorial. Mm-hmm. So when I got up here, everybody's classification here in San Antonio at the time, I mean, I'm an older lady, so at the time when I was here, the first thing they ask you is where'd you go to high school? Because that's how they peg you,
right.
That's how they know, who you are, what's going on here. And I would always say Memorial, and there's a memorial here.
Oh, that's funny.
Right, and I just didn't really, want to get into a long conversation about it, but I would just say Memorial, and that would satisfy people. But it's Memorial from the Rio Grande Valley.
Okay. Where'd you go to undergrad?
I got up here and I went to San Antonio College for a little bit. Right there on San Pedro. Some people call it San Pedro High, right?
That's funny. I hear SAC. Is that the same thing?
SAC. I say SAC, yeah. Great experience. I loved it there. And then I really wanted to study social work, so I went to Our Lady of the Lake University. Great experience there. One of my professors was Ciro Rodriguez. Really interesting person. He had just this wonderful take on life and he had a very nurturing attitude where he was helping the students, go forward and, be all you can be, and had a great experience there.
This is Representative Rodriguez, right?
Yes, Representative Ciro Rodriguez. After...
You are dating yourself a little bit.
Yeah, because he was a professor at the time. He had not even gone into politics.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess I'm an older person, but that's
okay. You don't look it. That's okay.
Oh, how nice of you. Thank you.
I turned 41 a couple weeks ago, so I'm starting to play the catch-up game.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Were your teenage years... when would you have been a teenager? What years was that?
We're in 85, so what's that? Late 90s. 98 through 2000, whatever, 4 or 5.
People had cameras on their phones already. Like, are you part of that whole?
No, I'm right at the edge before. Smartphones come out like the end of undergrad, like
Wow.
05, 6, 7, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And even then, it wasn't like social media. Facebook came out when I was in undergrad. It was only for college students, and it wasn't anything what it turned into yet. So, like, when I grew up, like, we still went out without cell phones, curfew. Like, we had a curfew. You went out and played. You came home for dinner. Like, I still had that, but then I grew up with, like, we got the big, like, leather phone packet that goes in your car, and then cell phones.
That?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Only really, I mean, that was upper, you know.
Yeah, that's funny. My dad was an officer. I guess that's why.
Yeah.
But what's funny, like, computers weren't, like, we had them in school through, like, middle, like junior, elementary, middle. By the time I got to college, a laptop was almost ubiquitous. Like, it was weird. Computers, I grew up with, they barely exist in home PCs, bought all the ones, and then laptops are required by the time you college. And of course, law school, I don't know how your experience was, but good luck without it by the time I was there. Did you graduate Our Lady of the Lake?
Yes, Our Lady of the Lake, and then for law school, I went to St. Mary's.
What year did you graduate?
From St. Mary's, 2006.
Okay, well, I graduated 10 from St. Mary's, so that was right after you.
Yeah.
What was your undergrad at?
My undergrad at Our Lady of the Lake.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to ask me the year, aren't you?
No.
I'm not going to know.
No, that's okay. No, what did you study, though?
I studied a lot of social work classes.
Can you, I know what that means generally, but is that like people who look at CPS or just foster care in general, or just more broad, like elder, kids, like, can you describe a little more what that means?
Very broad. I really, really wanted to help people. And I possibly was a little bit misguided, because you can help people in any profession.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a janitor and really affect people's lives. You know, if you do your job really well, treat people well, you can do hair, and you know, you can go to nursing homes and cut
Sure.
people's hair for free and make them feel like $1 million. So for whatever reason, in my head, if I wanted to help people, I had to go into social work. I had to be a caseworker.
Okay.
So when I first started working as a caseworker, I found that the tools I had in my toolkit to help people were very inadequate. So just an average day, I'd have a woman come in and she would say, I need help. I don't have a job anymore. My manager told me that I had to leave because my boyfriend keeps coming around and he can't have that. And I thought, well, she needs a protective order. And then the next family would come in, and 5 kids, and she was doing great, but they picked her husband up off the roof. La migra came by,
Mm-hmm.
and she's not working, and he was the sole breadwinner. So I gave her my little Band-Aid of Medicaid and TANF, AFDC, the
Mm-hmm.
cash welfare, and the food stamps, and some referrals. But I thought, well, she really needed immigration help.
Right.
If he had a green card, they wouldn't even be sitting in here. They'd be doing great. So I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I really think I want knowledge of the law. I want to go to law school. I think that knowledge is going to be really powerful. And he said, Mija, all knowledge is powerful. And I was like, dang! So they supported me. They helped me, because it's a really big project to go to law school, to take that on. It's quite a bit.
Was there a gap between undergrad and law school?
Very big one.
Okay.
And I felt a little awkward sitting in law school as an older student, but I also found it really helpful to have that life experience.
Yeah.
Just real world stuff, and all. I didn't have a plan, but as I look back, I didn't have a written out plan.
Sure.
But when I look back, I realized everything I did was stuff my community needed. If they needed it, I ran towards it. So, 911 operator, for example, learned so much, so many stories that I could tell you. And then the people skills you would need. It's all dealing with people in crisis. I think it works well together when you put it all together. Because you see how all the systems work. You see what the people are dealing with that are, in your community.
I want to get there, but I want to go back when you said the life experience helped. One, did you take the 3-year track or did you do a 4.5-year track for law school?
I did 3.
You did 3? Yeah,
right.
I did too. Yeah, I worked the whole time. I was quote on time, like 23 to 25, but I worked full time and regretted it later because that was brutal for 3 years.
That is so impressive.
I think
don't
dumb
know
is the
how.
word.
No, you might as well tell me that you can walk on water because I cannot fathom how you could finish law school and work.
I have a feeling I missed out on a lot of opportunity. You know what I mean? Not committing. What?
You did it. That's amazing. No, I didn't. I didn't work
Okay.
just till at the very end. I went to work at Legal Aid.
Oh, cool.
In the Access to Justice program.
What like besides I guess a sense of empathy and compassion, what drove you to just public service? Maybe not necessarily public service, but social service, casework, just help in general. Why has that been your direction in general? I'm on the more selfish side. I was happy to get married and get a law degree and make some money. I like helping people, but
I would never, ever, ever call you selfish, Beau. And can I tell you a quick story? When I got out of, you hear what I'm saying, that I was on a mission to help.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the purpose of my life. I was raised, my parents taught me to, always serve. So I get out of law school with my freshly minted bar card, right, all shiny and clean, and I go to a PI firm because it's a great opportunity. Great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring in their first case review, and it's a guy that was from University Hospital that he had been a patient, he had gone into the ER, and they rejected him 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And turns out it was a brown recluse.
Ooh.
So it was, and I won't go into details, but that face you made was
appropriate.
Very, very appropriate with what had happened. And they were clearly at fault because they had not recognized and they sent him away 3 times. So you get where I'm coming from. I want to help people. They listen to him, they take notes, but when he leaves, they say, look, we can't take that case because they explained governmental immunity,
right.
And this was University Hospital, and they explained. I went and got my stuff, and I walked out because I was so offended, I was so hurt that they weren't going to help, and that we're here to help. Flash forward, I'm now, I've been working with the foster youth. I've done all the different type of work that we just went over. And so I'm very involved in the local boards, the local nonprofits. Guess what they need, Beau? Money.
Fair, right? It's a good point.
You got to keep the lights on,
you know? Motivation, the purity of your motivation matters, if that makes sense. Because you can have a thriving PI firm donate to causes, take on cases like that, even if it might only be I don't know if maybe his job messed up and take a workforce commission, you know what I mean, like EEOC claim that wouldn't pay as much, but there's opportunities to help everywhere. I agree with that.
Agree with you 1,000%. And then you know that my husband was a judge for a while, and so there's a lot of stories there too where I could have my eyes opened and my mind expanded that personal injury attorneys really help people. You know, so they're making good money, but you're also really helping injured families.
It's also, I don't know, I don't want to dive too far down, but the things personal injury attorneys do that maybe people don't like wouldn't be necessary if insurance companies paid what they're supposed to. So it's kind of a weird balance that kind of keeps it in check. That's unfortunate, I don't know. But to your life experience, right? To your life experience, I know where I see this the most extreme in our world is when I first started taking criminal cases, and you notice that all the assistant district attorneys are under 30 and very fresh out of law school. Now, to be clear, I'm not going to insult people trying to work, trying to make a living, trying to make a career, maybe trying to help people themselves, thinking they're doing good. But I found out very quickly it's hard to have empathy or hard to have compassion as a 26-year-old DA with student loans. You may not even be married, kids, not a lot of work, maybe haven't seen a drug addict before in your personal life or ever experienced it, or real depression or real poverty, and then you're making decisions as a DA for these people, and it's like, maybe you're the wrong person for that job.
1,000%.
Yeah.
You bring, and same thing for a judge, you're going to bring, I know that justice is blind, you have the blinders on and everyone's equal, but you bring yourself to that bench, you bring your personality, you bring your life experience. That thing you're talking about that you just said, I saw the same thing as a caseworker working with CPS cases, child welfare.
Yeah.
Sometimes, God bless them, I know it's a very hard job, but when you have those caseworkers that just got out of college, that don't have children themselves, it's going to affect your perspective.
It does. And I don't really have a good answer to any of it, if being honest, But I when I went to law school, I was very close with the adult law students. I mean, I guess I was an adult, but the senior, and they were the most enthusiastic, the most passionate, and honestly, I have no data to support this, felt like they had careers take off real quickly because they had a passion for it and they were just excited to go. It wasn't the next step in, I've been in high school, undergrad. No, they had a mission ready to go.
I feel like I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
When I got that law degree, when I had my bar card,
so,
as opposed to other people that got out of school and slept on their mom's couch for a little bit and
in there, yeah. So you went to the PI firm for 5 minutes. It sounds like. Where did you land? Where did you land and start your practice? What were you doing then?
I ended up doing the work in the trenches. So what people have the most often is a criminal case, a family law case, some contracts, and then later on I got into immigration.
Okay.
Immigration is different in that you probably remember when you got out that the criminal law bar is very welcoming. There's a lot of help out there. Here's how you do things. We have SOCTLA, fantastic organization. So they will help you and show you. There's not the same kind of guarding of information. None of that exists in the immigration realm.
Really?
Right, because it's something that there can be a lot of money made there.
Sure.
So it's kind of a niche thing at the time. You have to use your Wayback Machine and go way, way, way back with me, because right now I know immigration is a hot topic.
So we're talking first term Obama. I mean, there was a lot of immigration. Okay, but go ahead. I believe you. Yeah.
But it just wasn't at the forefront of things we talked about public policy.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a subsection, kind of like tax law, and very few people, and it's also incredibly, intensely complicated.
Yes.
They say tax law and then immigration law are the most complicated areas. So it's not something I was wanting to just jump into, because you can really destroy someone's life with, just filing the wrong thing, just thinking you're helping. So I started working with another attorney that was doing immigration, and I saw that, this is going to sound bad, but I'm already in it, so I'm going to just keep going. I saw that he wasn't really doing as much as he could. And so I learned what I could, and then I said to myself, well, at least I'm going to research the law. I'm going to figure out every area of law. So it gave me the courage when I saw I can do better. So let me go ahead and take my first case. And it's nerve-wracking, to touch it. I imagine, I would never compare myself to a doctor, but I kind of imagine, can you imagine that first
time doing a procedure?
Yes, like that first, like brain surgeons, they do 100%. That first, thing. So my first cases were like that, and then I got more and more confidence, and you just have to make sure you're looking at all aspects. You always have to get the FOIA request first, make sure you understand. It's kind of, I'm going to use the doctor comparison again, because sometimes you don't know what you're opening up. You have to look at the entire governmental record before you touch that case.
Well, it organically brings me somewhere. There's a old phrase, it's attributed to Shakespeare, I don't think it's fair, but that jack of all trades, master of none. I'm sure you've heard it before.
Yeah.
But what's funny is it's used very pejorative now.
Yes.
But that's not the saying. It's like jack of all trades, master of none, but a master of many is better than master of one. And that's how I've always felt with law. And as you're talking about, you have immigration, criminal. I know you've done family law. That's how we met, I think.
Yes, I remember the day I met you in presiding.
Do you remember the day?
Yes. Not the day, but I remember your face. Yeah.
It's important. It's very important that people really don't understand how much interrelationship there are between these two. Criminal and immigration right off the bat, right? If I get a criminal case with someone without legal status, I can't. There's a million things I can't do without them giving immigration consults.
Exactly.
I don't think people understand that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
And then family, you can have the situation with the immigrant spouse, and
Absolutely.
then how did that affidavit of support? Do they get spousal maintenance now?
Right.
It's really. I hear you so much, because I would do that too. Also, I would kind of say that to myself, because I have friends that got out and just did probate. you know, and now they're complete and total experts on probate, you know. So I kind of beat myself a little bit that I did such a variety of things. I see it as such an asset now, though, because it all works together.
It does.
You have this bird's eye view of you know, how people are living under these systems, and these systems are affecting their lives. And then you're better able to help your community when you see how it all works together.
I want to go into the probate thing. You can't be a fully competent probate attorney if you don't have a grasp of family law, because you understand separate community property. You don't have a sense of business transactions or businesses and LLCs, how they work, where they go, of trust, of finances, even to some degree kids in some respect. It does all go together. So even felony status, because felons can't do certain things or they can. And all of it is too skills in litigation, business sense. So I have a very firm opinion now that a diverse practice is a really big asset in general.
You know what has helped me too, and I know it helps you too, is that personality type where you can work well with others, because you're not going to know everything. No. So you need to have that friend that you can reach out to and that's willing to help and give you the knowledge if you've got a gap there.
The friend, the court staff, the court coordinators, the judges themselves, of course, your colleague across the other aisle. I found, and you said this, criminal bar is friendly. I found our family bar to be quite friendly here in San Antonio.
Yes.
I mean, some notable exceptions that I won't say out loud, but honestly, most of them work. I've had some civil cases that I straight up called. I'm like, what am I missing, man? You know what I mean? Here's where I'm seeing it, and most of them answer the question. You'll research and you can be candid and learn. I agree. Work well with others.
And this is better for people. You know, you get a better result.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell clients or potential clients all the time, like, who's your attorney? He's like, I know him. It's like, is that like, that's a good thing. Like, I'm going to text them when you leave, you know, like, we're good, you know, and then if we need to fight, we will.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. All right, so you've done immigration. I know you've done family criminal. When did you make a decision that you wanted to shift to public service in a formal sense?
When I decided to, I have run before. I've run for, I ran against Christine Hortick in that primary.
For the 225th, excuse me?
Right. I got pretty close, and I learned a lot. I didn't really campaign in the way that I'm campaigning now. Okay. So this time has been more fun, I guess, because it's actual real campaigning where you do everything you're supposed to do. You go to the events, the block walking. So it's been a more traditional campaign.
Really niche podcasts and things like There you go. So what drove, and I don't have anything ill to say about Judge Hortick, what drove to pick that bench? I know that's what Judge Sikaisi, I think, that opened. Very different bench than what you're seeking now. What was your aspiration there in the district court?
Well, I've always, like I said, wanted to help people, and that's a court that does hear a lot of family law cases. So I have that personality where I'm going to be fair, I'm going to listen. You're already having kind of a bad day if you're in court. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, this is not your best day. No. So I felt that my temperament would be really good for that bench. I'm also very interested in helping people find peace before they come to the bench, because once you get up there, you might not, both sides might not like what happened. There's a way to have two unhappy people leave a bench with an order.
I would say 4 to 5 times that's what happens.
Right, so people have these ideas, you know, oh, the judge is going to see things completely on my side, and I'm sure you've had these conversations with people where you have to let them know, you know, no. So
I don't see it completely on your side. You know,
yeah, so you just have that come to Jesus talk. Yeah. So there's just been a lot where I think there's a lot of good that could be done in that realm, as far as conflict resolution, helping people find peace outside of getting a ruling from the judge. But once you're in front of that judge, you have to apply the law. So right now my campaign is for County Court 10, and they're doing a lot of evictions in there. It's a civil bench. There is a little statute that does allow them to hear criminal law cases as well. So this docket, it's not actually against the rules. You can, when you're done with this docket in County Court 10, you could call over to the criminal courts and say, hey, do you have any pleas you can send me? You know, just try to help clear up things, keep things running smoothly. Just go in and work hard, you know, work a full day, work more than than a full day if you have to. But just really help out the court systems. It is true that they are overburdened right now on the district court side, on the criminal law side. This court, they also, because they do a lot of evictions, I think it's really ripe for bringing in some education. So right now there's not a huge education aspect, which judges are allowed to do. You're not allowed to advocate, but if it's educational, judges are allowed to do that. And that has not been maximized in this court. So you can work with outside social agencies and you can provide education so people aren't just cycling through the courts.
I'm gonna pause. So County Court 10, at Law 10, in Bexar County we have 15 county courts.
Right.
13 of which I want to posit kind of only handle criminal. I know that's not actually true there. And these two have primary, County Courts 3 and 10 have primary civil dockets. Am I having that correct?
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
But there's a tiny little statute that says they can do criminal. Yeah. And so I would clear it with all the powers that be.
And make sure
But my heart is there that if there's anything I can do to help the court system, I'm going to be working really hard to do that.
And I'm also aware that County Courts 3 and 10, I've been there where they refer the civil cases out to, and I don't remember which ones they are now. There are, at the time, 5-6 years ago, I know Judge Wolf, Judge Stolhansky would hear civil matters as well in the middle of their criminal dockets to help them work with each other. So
back when we all worked together.
I don't know if that's not true anymore. That's unfortunate if it is. So what's the difference between, for people who don't know, a county court and a district court?
Just basically jurisdiction. So district court, I kind of see it as a hierarchy like this. So you start out with JP, which would be, one of the lower level courts. Then it's county court at law, and then it's a district court. So district court, it would be, the $1 million, the high dollar PI cases, things like that.
Your case is capped at $250,000 right now?
325. Which one?
The county court at law.
325.
It's 325.
It was $250,000, and they did change it.
Showing my age now.
No. So, it was very recent. Yeah. It was very recent.
So any civil lawsuit, 25. Because we're a big enough county to have a district, you don't hear family cases in county court. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But
if it was some kind of dispute that wasn't, framed that way, it could end up
under the family code. I think what I should have more appropriately said. But I would imagine a huge source of the docket you mentioned a few times are the eviction appeals that go up.
Gigantic.
Do you have an idea of the percentage? I'm not going to hold you to it, but I would imagine 40 of your 50 cases a day might be if you get there.
Yes, just based on talking to people. Please don't hold me to it.
No, sure,
I'm going to go with 60%.
Yeah, a huge amount. So
big guess. Don't hold me to it.
That's okay. Yeah. And so for people who don't know, evictions are actually really weird. Forcible detainers. It's the one place in law I can think with exclusive jurisdiction in JP court in general. You can't evict somebody in county court. You can't evict them in district court, court of appeals, or Supreme Court. You got to go to the JP court. But once that's done, the appeal, one way or the other, takes its way to county.
Yeah, I find it fascinating too.
It's interesting, right?
Yes, yeah.
We've had because I'm sure you've had plenty of divorce cases with real estate or just real estate cases themselves. People get, houses change hands and I got to kick them out. I can't. There's some wiggle room in the family code that you can, as a result of best interest of kids, remove someone or a protective order, but really it's kind of rest there. But you handle that.
There have been a lot of changes. I know everybody's going to have that horror story where they had a tenant that they couldn't get out and it was a nightmare and they had to go through the whole eviction process, and 6 months later they were still going through the appeal and they spent all this money, the tenant damaged the house. I know everybody's going to have a horror story like that. Well, anyone that's ever tried to do anything in real estate. These new revisions to the property code, they are really trying to circumvent that. They are really trying to help people, and in a way that's fair for everybody. Yeah. So it was a huge revamp that came out January 1st of this year.
Well, I'd like to get into it because candidly, you reached out to me, and one of the things you asked to speak on was that. And honestly, I haven't done an eviction in the last calendar year, so either way. So what are some of the differences so people can be aware?
Well, one big one that I find really interesting, this is going to sound like a small thing, but I'm going to start with this one.
Yeah.
If you put in your lease that you can serve somebody with email, then you can serve somebody with email.
That's not a small thing.
Thank you.
That's not a small thing. Yeah.
You get it because you've tried to serve people, right? You've had a case totally derailed on service.
Well, and is this circumventing the weird notice on the door, and then serve with the constable, and then you got to get the constable to do it? Yeah. that becomes a process all unto itself.
So that leads me to my next point, which is, if you don't want that, what if you're a 95-year-old disabled vet and you do not use email? Then if you're signing any documents, you have got to make sure that you did not just consent or waive your right to actual real personal service. You have to read anything very, very clearly.
Yeah.
Make sure that you didn't consent to being served by email.
Okay.
Because this whole thing has been streamlined and it can happen really fast.
Okay.
And once that eviction order is signed, once everything is done correctly, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, your stuff can be removed. It's on the front lawn. It's raining. Your cat ran away. I mean, this is real life stuff.
What's the next set? I think you got a list of them for me.
Well, they're calling it the squatter law, which is a little bit. I think the wording is a little bit disingenuous. I don't know if you're going to give me some pushback on this or not, but we actually don't have a lot of squatter problems here. True squatter, like you see in other places, where somebody literally has no right to be there and they've decided to take up residence in this shelter.
I wouldn't know, but I haven't seen it. Let me say it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I talk, you can probably tell from my resume that evictions has not been a giant part of my practice, but I talk regularly to people that it is. And so people that say, I've done nothing but evictions for the last 30 years, they've seen like 3 or 4.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. I think most evictions are, I couldn't afford my rent anymore. Or you're a jerk and don't pay it. But most people, it's, times got tight, I couldn't pay this, and finally the landlord said no.
Well, all that being said, though, Beau, if you do have a true squatter situation and you can prove, and your definition of squatter fits within the Texas Property Code, where there's absolutely no legal right to be there, they can't produce one single legal reason why they're there, then you don't have to go through the eviction process. You do an affidavit and you immediately get your order.
Okay, so now I feel like there's a danger here.
Right?
Okay, so
you
yes.
thought too?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
interesting, right?
Yeah, because just by the wording, I should have pulled the statute up, but
Can I pause you real quick?
Of course.
Does it not remind you of like the power of a TRO or a PO in family law?
It's real extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, real extreme. I would go the PO especially.
Yeah.
Especially when you play a game there's a pending SAPSR, but the PO is technically a different cause number and we don't have to notice you, and that kind of is what it feels like.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking about a month to month, what do you call the month to month lease? But,
right, month to month. Yeah.
And so basically the payment of the rent seems to be like the contract every time.
Yeah.
You haven't given any notice to vacate. You don't pay it for a month because you don't have it. How do you have any legal right to be there? And now do you meet that squatter definition? I'm scared that you might, and now I'm worried that people that have been paying rent for 4 years, hit hard times, are losing a process opportunity in the JP or the county court that they might otherwise have had. Is there any data yet? Do we know?
I've been mining all my resources trying to get the data. I don't have it yet. I don't have anything, but the word on the street is that because it's so new and it's so radical, people aren't actually really doing it yet.
People as in the JP judges or
attorneys.
Okay.
So it exists on paper. It's fascinating. It creates that really interesting, constitutional law argument that you're creating there. Like, are people going to get due process? How is this actually going to work? So I don't have answers yet because people aren't really touching it yet.
Okay. Any other significant changes that you're noticing?
I really liked how they, I think it was weighted a little bit towards landlords. So all of this was the landlord lobby.
Mm-hmm.
So this is skewed more towards landlords. But they kind of threw this in, and I really like it, and maybe it was like trying to make it more balanced. But if you've never been late on your rent before, so let's just pretend that you've been a good tenant and you've never even been 1 day late. You can't just be evicted by the normal process. The normal process, notice to vacate. It's a process. There's steps. They have to give you a chance to cure it. They call it curing. So you can get into court, and because it's new, some people have not realized it yet. You can get into court and they've done everything right. Everything. And the notice to vacate, you get up there in front of the judge, and you prove that you've never been late on your rent and you weren't given a chance to cure, they can't grant that.
Wow.
I know. But who can say that they've been perfectly on time every time?
Not me, but I'm sure there are people who can. So
right.
I mean, I kind of like that. And I will say, I've had the horror stories as a young attorney doing evictions, but I had to learn some of the rules. First and foremost, I didn't know until later, when you file the appeal, even with the affidavit of inability, you still got to post the rent every month.
Yes.
So you can get a writ the next month, and I didn't know that for 2 cases and embarrassed myself. So
there's not really a lot of, it's very, very hard to do those appeals. You do get that de novo appeal, but it's really stringent.
Yeah, and you got to put up the bond, and even if you can survive not putting the bond up, the first month you don't pay the rent, it's a automotion. I think it's a shall statute if I remember right on the there. I saw your website, and I can't remember the 3, but you had 3 pillars in there of what you're bringing, and you've already touched on it. Like, you want to cooperate with other courts a little more, work a little harder. I guess I'd say sell yourself. Like, why should you be the candidate to be elected? First of all, is there a Republican opponent?
There's not a Republican.
So this is the election May 2nd, right?
I'm going up against an incumbent, and they have been on that bench for 3 years, approximately 3 years. And I'm
still in their first term?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just at a point in my life where we're watching some things go on in our country nationally, and it just feels like business as usual is not good enough. So the philosophy seems to be like, nothing to see here, doing great, but you can do more for Bexar County constituents. I know you can. I see what's going on in that court, and I know we can do better. First of all, just the education, just that, just that small prong.
Can you flesh that out a little more? What would that look like in practice? You're elected 2 months later. What is that looking like on the daily docket?
Let me pretend I'm going to just do the bare minimum of doing better, okay? A lunch and learn. Do a lunch and, you are a taxpayer, so you are paying to keep those lights on in that building. You're paying for the AC. So during that lunch hour, there's no docket happening. So bring in some outside social agencies and provide education in the court. This is a win-win for both sides. Let's just keep it in the eviction realm.
Yeah.
So you've got landlords, you've got tenants, sometimes at polar opposite ends of the spectrum. Education made all of this so much worse, said nobody ever.
Right? Okay.
Mediation, provide the ability. When I worked at Legal Aid, things that would often happen, it would be so small to have a win-win. Like, for example, you'd have somebody say, well, I really don't want that eviction on my record, and if you just wait 3 days, I'll have the money for the U-Haul, and, I've got a place to go, I'll be out, you don't have to take me to court, And so it's the difference between just having that win-win as opposed to being in front of the judge where, you know the law, Beau. If you're a judge and they bring you everything, you can have the biggest heart in the world. You can be looking at a 97-year-old veteran and you still have to say, granted.
Yeah.
Because that's the situation a judge is in. You have to follow the law. And if you're a property owner, you have a constitutional right to your property. You didn't sign up to just have indigent people living in your property for free.
I'm smirking.
Yes,
because in my experience,
tell me.
I've been in front of a number of your soon-to-be colleagues that maybe don't always feel like they have to follow the law.
I didn't read your,
and I'm glad to hear that you're there.
You have to, Beau. You have to. And we're living through some strange times. I love you either way, no matter, listening public, no matter what side of this spectrum you're on. We're very divided right now. I have complete respect for you either way. But I think that I'm right in saying that we are noticing in our country that the rule of law is incredibly important, and it's holding our country together. So you have to follow the Constitution, you have to follow the law. This is an integral part that our democracy is hinged on.
I'm a nerd and a dork, and what I mean is I really do have...
Is that what you won? Biggest nerd in Texas?
No, that's a different word. That's in the back. That doesn't make the camera. I got a chest over there. I have a lot of genuine respect and love for when you go to law school, and for me these concepts were fascinating.
Yeah.
Whether it's something that might seem boring to some people, contracts, but you learn about offer acceptance consideration the first time, and then you get to like con law, especially for criminal, and then you get bored enough to kind of go back. How did this develop? Like we know Miranda rights today. Well, that came over time. You learn that the Bill of Rights was only for the feds, and it turns out we're going to apply it to the states and due process to the 14th, and it developed for a reason. Your rules of evidence developed over a very long time, some of them back to England, for a reason. So
1,000%.
Yeah.
Agree with
And
you.
so I get very apprehensive if the first thing out of a judge's mouth isn't doing their best to follow the law.
Right.
Having said that, have a heart, be a human. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
But I think there's usually enough room in the law to do that.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you've already said it, so take this eviction, since this isn't the world. Just having the mediation resource available. There's a way, just that availability. Yes, if you have a very angry property owner, you may get stuck in a situation you just described with the veteran. But more often than not, hey, there's a mediator here. They're doing $200 half-day mediations. Always set your case for a day, whatever's appropriate for the docket. Have the conversation right now. You could save somebody not just the stigma and indignity, but the smear of a record of an eviction. You could save money on some court costs. You could save money on a writ of possession, and the cleaning cost of the place. It is a win-win, and you didn't have to break the law to do it. There's ways to do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And then try to do it with as little delay as possible.
Right.
So the way to do that would be because if you've gone that far and you're in an eviction court, let's say you're a landlord, you don't want to wait even a day.
No,
you want this person out.
Yeah,
and not every landlord is some sleazy slumlord with big fat cat. You've got like landlords that are relying on that money for their income, so maybe they can't even wait a day. So go talk to the powers that be, the people that approve things, the commissioner's court, things like that. If you can have mediation right there, like I've seen that in the JP courts. They'll have it right there, and so then you don't even have to wait the day. Yeah,
there's ways to do that. I've wanted to ask this question of a few people, but I've never been able to phrase it, but I'll give it a try. If you had to narrow your judicial philosophy into one of two camps, which would it be? And for me, camp one would be, I kind of know what the right result is, let me see if I can find a legal way to get there.
Oh, interesting.
Or camp B would be, let me look at this like a law school question, start with the law, see the facts as applied, and the results are what they are, whether they seem fair or not. Okay, I like hearing that, the latter is what she pointed to.
Unfortunately, I mean, I have a big heart, as you can tell. But the law is the law. You have to follow the law. I can do things in my private life. I can do the lunch and learns. I can work with social aid. I can do everything in my power. Yeah. But if I wanted to change the law or advocate for people, then you run for a different bench.
Yeah.
You run for the Senate. You run So you're not changing the law. You take the law as it exists. Now, we could take that to an extreme.
Right.
You could look at maybe like Nazi Germany and where they have followed incorrect laws. But right now, where we're at right now, you absolutely have to follow the law.
Well, and again, I think there's enough room in the law to be fair and have a heart. That's what I struggle with. And now, to be fair, 60% of my practice is family.
Will you answer? Because that's such a good question, and you phrased it beautifully.
The latter, 100%. Because I have
Why do people go the other? Why do people?
I wish I had the courage. Judge Mary Lou Alvarez is on the podcast.
Oh.
And I want to say a couple things. She has a tough reputation that she's done a lot to build herself. But she's way smarter than anybody knows.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Way smarter than anybody knows.
1,000,000,000%.
Way more articulate than anybody knows. Well, I don't know how many times I've been in a room, I'm kind of arrogant, and realized very quickly I wasn't the smartest. And not just a little bit, no. I was a step down.
Right.
I played chess, she was playing 3D chess. I was there.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everything she said, done, demeanor. That's not the point.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask her that. I didn't find a place that would. I would suspect the answer, especially the family law judges, would be that they don't want to hurt kids. They want kids to feel safe. They want maybe victims of domestic violence to feel safe. I don't want to be some jerk that says I don't get it. I really do. I think too, they have a sense of the attorneys and their capacity. They don't want an attorney mistake to put a kid in danger, or attorney mistake to lead to a grossly unfair result. And if they can find a way to stretch, manipulate, go, they've got a lot of power to do that. I'll also say I don't have to sleep at night with the results of my decisions. I advocate for somebody. Someone else made that decision. If I can live with my billing and I know I worked hard, I go to sleep fine. Someone who's running for your job doesn't have that luxury. You got to sleep with it. I think that's the answer to why people would fall into that camp. The wholesome reasons. I do think there's some reasons of just advocacy.
Well, I
big head.
really appreciate you asking these tough questions. I'm of the opinion right now that journalists are so much more important than I had ever realized,
Right.
as far as holding our democracy together. I'm so happy to see someone with your mental
Thank you.
capacity, your intelligence, and asking these good questions, going into this format, journalism, and there's plenty of room for you. I think, why aren't major outlets asking these good questions? This is a really good thing you're doing.
I appreciate it. I think the answer is unfortunate. We don't have the attention span. Most people don't, or the curiosity. I mean, you spoke of division earlier. I mean, I won't hide it. I'm very left, but I agree. Respect, and I have plenty of friends, parents, and family that don't see the world the way I do. But there seems to be a lack of curiosity, like a lack of desire to really understand issues in general. Like I had my buddy on, the chiropractor, and we talked for an hour about peptides. But because instead of getting a TikTok influencer to say it, he's credentialed, in every way possible. Here's the warning signs. Here's what they're for. I think I don't understand this, but a lot of people don't always have a curiosity. Let me give you a silly example. I met my now wife. Unfortunately, got divorced in 2023. It happens. I met this beautiful girl in June of 24. And she had a friend group. She was in New Braunfels, and she had a group of friends in Buda that would meet very frequently weekends, kind of in a cul-de-sac, drink, and hang out. So nothing wrong with that. I didn't have much in common with them. Different jobs, different place. We just didn't get along well. Well, I'm a big college football fan, LSU fan. You can see the helmet over there and all that. So they were going to watch Texas, I think Georgia play, a big SEC game. I'm psyched. Finally, something I can relate to these people, right? Now you got to understand. I can name every, LSU champion. I can name half the roster. I mean, but to me, that's how you watch football. I know who's ranked where. I know the injuries. I know who was drafted. I know who the coaching guys were in the carousel and all that. So I'm all excited. I'm jazzed to get up. And whether male, female, old, young, they just wanted to hang out. They knew football was on, and it was Texas. They didn't know anything. They didn't care to know anything. And I was I'm trying to have a conversation, hey man, what'd you think about that? Oh man, he threw the ball. And are you serious right now?
And you were so excited.
I was so excited, and my poor, and then we were dating,
Yeah.
and she wants our worlds to meld, and it just wasn't working. And but I think people are like that. I think people don't want to really dive deep, because these are hard questions, right? I mean, if you're that judge, well, the landlord tenant, we keep doing it. I think there's a lot of people that says the right thing is to not kick the 95-year-old vet out. They're wrong, but I understand, and people don't want to take the time to listen. We can't have a culture in society that's built on not following the rules.
I need that on a t-shirt.
Right? Yeah. And if you have a problem with that result, you got a legislature that makes $6,000 a session every 2 years. Go run for it and go fix it. It's very fixable, if we know what we're doing. So.
Or go work for nonprofits, or get involved in the community.
Right.
Do whatever you need to do. But it also just comes back to the law is kind of not great. I'm sure you've noticed in the family law realm. In family law, I would always kind of try and help my clients get out of the family law realm as fast as possible. So it just doesn't match people's needs very well, if that makes any sense.
I agree.
You've got high conflict, you've got the kids thrown in the mix, you've got the property issues, and then you've got the law, and those two worlds just kind of, there's real world and there's legal world.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, I'm not finding the right words, but it just doesn't meet people's needs in the way they can on their own if they would work together, do what's best for their children. It's always going to be a really poor substitute for people just speaking to each other and co-parenting well. Same thing in child welfare. You've got the CPS system. It's so unfortunate, but sometimes the state comes in and terminates rights, and they often will terminate the whole family ends up terminated. You don't have an uncle, you don't have an aunt anymore, because they kind of figure, well, this was very dysfunctional, so let's just remove the child completely from any and we're gonna raise this child now. I know you know what I'm gonna say right now. The state is a really, really bad parent.
Mm-hmm, they are.
And it's just doesn't. The law is just a really poor substitute. It doesn't meet people's needs.
Which, but it's what we have, right? And
Right.
you're advocating this, so we follow it. But now, look other places. This goes to a place I've talked to. Let me see how to articulate this well. Let's say like drunk driving. I don't meet too many people that are saying let's have more drunk drivers on the road. I think we can mostly agree or all agree that's an issue that we should have less. And so.
Well, you're really hitting those controversial issues today. Should we have more or less drunk driving?
It's a real brave opinion that we should have less drunk driving. And so I put out a lot of content that I'm a very skeptical, if not just cynically dismissive of field sobriety tests.
Yes.
Some blood and
junk science.
Junk science. There you go. Right.
It's a metal box.
You're right. And people get on me like, we can't have drunk drivers. I'm like, okay, you just made the connection that's not there. The criminal justice system isn't the only way we can address drunk driving. There's a separate issue there. Like, criminal justice is to protect the community, and not at the expense of our civil rights. And we don't make it easier to convict people. That's not making us safer. That's just making it easier to convict people. I have a more controversial one if you want it. So, if we really want to tone down drunk driving,
that one.
Yeah, if we want to tone down drunk driving, we need to look at how we do licenses for liquor places. I could fix it today. 2-drink max at a liquor place unless you're going to provide the Uber. We won't do that. We're not willing to do that for some reason. We want to put it in this system. Same with the family. The courts, I think our judges do the best they can. I don't agree a lot. Very often. I get very mad when I leave sometimes. But I've almost never left a court saying the judge didn't care.
Right.
And so that's not the issue. The law's going to be inadequate because all people are different. So we have different cultural places we need to look at ourselves and say, why are divorce rates so high? How are we looking at each other? I don't have those answers, but I agree with you. The law is going to be inadequate, but it's what we have.
I'm going to circle back to my compliment of you and in when I was expressing my gratitude for what you're doing here, because I'm an older lady. I've worked in all these systems, and in the child welfare system, I noticed, okay, you've got the ad litem, you've got the amicus, you've got the probation officer, you've got the child, you've got the judge, you look at one hearing in a child welfare system, just the dollar signs should just be going in your head just for one hearing. And so they all love kids. So why are we all working against each other? Why can't we talk to each other? Every single person didn't wake up that morning and say, I really want to hurt children. They all should be closer on the same page, but they'll end up, we have an adversarial legal system, and they'll end up, butting heads, and the caseworker fighting with the, state, and it's just full circle back to my compliment of you, because you're talking to people, you're getting people to talk to each other, the communication, and that you're really onto something here, and so thank you for what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Let's see, so May 2nd is the runoff? 26
is the runoff, and
I apologize, okay.
The early vote starts a week before May 26th. And I'm not a politician, as you can probably tell. I'm not a seasoned politician. So if anybody wants any clarity over something I said, or if you're considering voting for me and you need more information, I answer my DMs. I'm on all the social medias, and my number's on my website. So if I offended anyone, please forgive me and allow me the chance to clarify.
I don't know about that. Well, how is the campaign going? How do you feel?
I feel really good.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but it's my way of giving back. Because to be blunt, I have a pretty nice life, Beau. I'm happily married and got my house and my kids, and I could just kind of put my blinders on and just kind of pretend that problems don't exist in the world.
Yeah.
And this isn't going to affect me. But just a small thing, like for example, every time I go down to the courthouse, there's always unhoused. There's people that are unhoused, and it just seems like it's getting worse. So this is my way of, I want to get involved in public service, and I really believe we can do better for people.
It's admirable. I hope one day I have it.
I know you will. Yeah.
I sincerely, any bench, and I mean this when I say it, I've avoided amicus work like the plague. I avoid any idea of judge. I've got some stuff in my past anyway to be a judge, but it's a different thing to be in our system when your decisions matter. My role matters. I'm fully proud of it. I got an ego.
I completely heard what you said.
Yeah.
That you go in, you advocate, but you weren't the one that made the call.
Yep.
So there is some peace in that. I completely understood that.
Yeah.
I don't know if your general public, do you have to be an attorney to understand that feeling?
I wonder. That's an interesting. I think I have kind of a unique. Have a unique role in that. At the end of the day, outcomes aren't really what you're paying us for.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love it.
I sleep well knowing I did my best.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, the dirty truth for me is when I lose, I spend a lot of time wondering what I woulda, coulda, shoulda done different.
Well, of course.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes facts are what they are, but sometimes they aren't, and sometimes I get beat when I didn't think I should, or I feel like it's my responsibility to communicate in a way that the judge or jury heard my client's case.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, that's where I messed up.
Yeah, refining and just going over everything.
Yeah.
That's part of the process.
It's a tough one. I'd like you to give you just a little more time. Anything else you want to talk about? Actually, I do want to compliment. I didn't know you were on the board of Blue House. We had Laura Megan Hernandez on. Had Laura Megan Hernandez on.
She's lovely.
She's lovely. That place does a lot of miracles. I wish there were more of them for people. I think there's not enough supervision providers, whether it's offsite individuals or actual homes or whatever you want to call it. It's Kid Share, Guardian House, and Blue House, and then some offsite people. So I appreciate your work there for sure.
It's family conflict is incredibly painful.
Yeah.
And if it hasn't touched your life, good for you. But it's out there, and
I'm divorced in what would be a tame case, and it's very hard in my personal life. And I have grown a whole new appreciation for when it gets really ugly and scary for people that come in my doors. So I get it. Well, make one more pitch for me. I sincerely appreciate you coming on and being candid. What can you do for County Court 10? Why vote for Shannon Roberta Salmon?
I pronounce it Salmón.
Salmon, okay.
Yeah, but I will answer to salmon as well, because a lot of people say salmon.
Yeah.
I think people should vote for me because I bring my personality to the bench, and I bring my love of service to the bench. I bring my love of the community to the bench, and I understand how all these systems work together. So I understand the person that's in front of me and the systems that they're dealing with. So I want to bring something that will be better for people. There's very harsh things that are happening in that court, and as we talked about, the law has to be followed. So there's not any way to not follow the law. Property owners have a constitutional right to their properties. You can't just have somebody taking over your property.
Of course not.
So there are ways, though. There are ways to do better. So the current philosophy seems to be this is good enough, everything's just fine, and you can just kind of look around and see everything is not fine. So we need to our vote is our power. So we need to ask more of our public officials. We need to demand more from our public officials, and business as usual is not good enough. Not in these times. Maybe back in the day, when things were calmer, but things are going to just ramp up. You're going to see more and more families that are dispossessed of their homes. I have a feeling we're in for some economically rough times. The writing on the wall does not look great. Let's get the most bang for our buck out of County Court 10. We can maximize what we have here.
I'm going to end with this topic this isn't the sexiest topic, but for me it's one of the most important. There's not, in my experience, a lot of oversight into judges once they're on the bench. And I'm not sure there should be. They're elected, they are who they are. And when I mean oversight, I don't mean your rulings, I don't mean their...
I wouldn't mind more oversight. I could get on board with that.
Yeah, but
that is
for things like how you run your dockets, work ethic, time at the courthouse.
Very true.
And one of the thing that probably stood out to me the most on your website and some of your comments today were work later, work through the lunch, get more dockets. If you're willing to, and I'm not asking you to denigrate your opponent, I don't know if that's a problem in that court, I actually don't know. But speak to that in general, because I can tell you from personal experience in smaller counties, even in this county where I think the judges work harder than in most, it sure is sometimes hard to get in front to get your client of access to justice, is what Judge Alvarez said. Can you speak to that and kind of your role and what you plan to do in County Court 10 in that area?
I'll dance around and answer
Sure.
as best I can, because I'll say what I plan to do, and I'm not convinced that it's what's currently happening. So yes, I plan to be available. The work day is for working on cases. And if there is a lull in the cases, if you have finished the docket, then you can help out in the criminal courts. You can say, send me some pleas. You can maximize your work day, and you can maximize that space. So number one, you have to be there. You have to be there for a full work day. And you've been in the situation where you're sitting in a criminal court waiting. I really hate to do this. I'm not calling anyone out specifically, but I know we're somewhat in the same age realm. So you know that we've been sitting in court waiting to enter our plea, and the judge is at her Zumba class, and you're sitting there, or you're in presiding, and everybody's waiting because they're doing a wedding in the back or something. Like all these people are earning $300, $200 an hour. Everybody's waiting because there's not a judge sitting on that bench.
Yeah.
So I will have my butt in that chair.
If
it is working hours, I don't care if I don't get reelected. That is not what I need to be doing. Butt in chair doing work.
It's a shockingly simple thing.
Yes.
But it's a thing. I mean, to me, the theme of this podcast is show up at work and follow the law.
Yes.
It's kind of, I don't want to say it's sad because I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's kind of sad. I mean, it's kind of,
That's what judges do.
Right?
Yes,
What they should be doing.
Judges are supposed to do.
What we should be doing.
This has been a joy. Can I answer one of the questions?
Oh, please. I'm sorry. I didn't even go through. We were having fun, so I wanted to go. Please, anything you want to go through.
Advice to law students, do you have one that you do? Because my go-to is be nice to everybody, always, at all times. Because you are having a bad day and you think you're going to take it out on that clerk.
Yeah.
That clerk was just at the baby shower with the judge, or you're going to be snippy with the deputy. That deputy plays golf with the judge, okay? Any person you have deemed unimportant, and if you have a hierarchy in your mind, you are wrong.
Yeah.
You are absolutely wrong. You be intensely nice to everybody, and that has served me very well. Someone told me that when I graduated law school, and I mean, I'm a nice person anyway,
right.
But
I don't have better than that, but what I would say is approach litigation with confidence.
Yes.
Not arrogance, but confidence.
Yes.
Walk in confident of your case,
Yeah.
make your case, be succinct, and
Who
expect to
told you
win. Nobody. I had to learn that on the fly. I will say there's levels to it too. This gets kind of dorky for us, but there's kind of, how do I put this? There's cases where we know the outcome. Okay, there's agreed cases, right? And you're just making your presentation. It's still work. You have to put the orders together. It's still legal work. That's fine. There's cases where kind of like the facts really send. We kind of know. There's maybe some wiggle room. You do your best, but you kind of know. Then there's cases where you're on the good side of the facts. You better win. But then there's the extra case where you actually think you're right, but you're going in kind of an underdog. You got to learn to hold your ground. The judges are busy.
yeah,
Even the best judges.
right,
They're busy. They're going to want to cut you off quick. They're going to want to take you into chambers and say,
right,
we know what we're doing. Like, I'm sorry, Judge, I got to make my record.
right,
You haven't heard of the evidence yet.
right.
I'm going to ask you to keep an open mind. I've got a brief in a case that says otherwise.
I love it.
You've got to stand up. There's a way to do it
Yeah.
respectfully. Don't be
Right,
something else.
Right.
But I would say...
and that comes from within.
Yeah.
That is a confidence in yourself where you have to trust yourself.
Yeah. Judges work for you. And I don't mean ugly to the judges, but they have a prestige, and the bench is something worth honoring. But at the end of the day, they work for you.
Yeah.
And
Totally agree with that. And
Yeah.
I've never really kind of understood why I understand the position, have deference for the
Yes.
position, but the deputy is doing a job and the judge is doing a job and
Mm-hmm.
an attorney is doing a job. Well, I wonder why there's some kind of a hierarchy we've built up, because the janitor's doing a job, So I guess respect the bench, but everybody's there. I think we give judges too much deference in that way.
in that way, yes. I mean, I certainly, the person that wants to put themselves in that position, I'll give the deference. But I found most judges appreciate it when I, with respect and deference, push back. I'm sorry, Judge, no, that's not the law. I'm asking you to look at this a little bit.
Right.
I'm asking you to look harder. I understand. And meet them where they're at, too. I mean, this is just an advocacy thing, but, I know your knee-jerk is you want to do this, or I understand the impulse here, but I'm going to ask you to look at this code or look at these facts. There's a million cool things. Find middle grounds that the judge may want to find. There's a lot of cool stuff, but I agree with you. The best advice is be nice to everybody, and it'll pay off. But
I agree with yours. Great advice.
Yeah, be confident. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. This was so fun.
All right. To wrap up this episode, I want to thank Shannon for joining me today. I do really appreciate you taking time to share your story, perspective, experience. I'll be voting for you, unashamedly.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Thank
I
you.
voted for you already, but I'm happy to do it again in the runoff. That's it for episode 18 of Fiegel Files. I'm not sure when this is airing, but the next episode is going to be me and my buddy Corbin predicting World's Strongest Man. So y'all stay tuned, stay strong, and go Tigers.